Ready.
Well, good evening, everyone. Presuming you're somewhere where it's closer to evening than afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. My name is Brian Burns. I'm the CEO and founder of C.me. And I want to thank everybody again, but also start with just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. The first thing is that we have a Google Doc, a link to a Google Doc in the chat. And if you have questions, which we're happy to take either during or mostly probably after I'm done with some upfront comments and overview of the presentation, you can either put your question in the chat or add it to the Google Doc. We'll go about half an hour. Longer if people have time, but we'll keep it relatively short and to the point. And if we don't get to your question, but you put it in the chat, we will address it either on Republic or directly in one way, shape, or form. So with that said, I really want to thank everybody again for being here tonight. This is very much a passion play and a for-profit business that we're building to bring art, really democratize art in a way that has not happened yet in society. And in the process, a lot of economic value and also impact the lives of people all over the world. There's something that we like to say, which is that talent is evenly distributed around the world, but opportunity is highly concentrated. And if you're a physical artist or digital artist for that matter, unless you happen to reside in New York or London or Paris, it's very, very difficult to get discovered. And even if you do reside in one of those places, the more you learn about the art industry, the more you understand how random that discovery really is. So I want to pause for just 1 second and tell you I'm not alone here tonight. I'm pleased to be joined by a number of members of the team, Angelica Polito, Narissa Bardfeld, Maria Paula Flores, Eric Maleka, who's both an investor and advisor, Ira Grossman also, who's an investor and advisor. Thank you all for joining us. We've really put together a strong coalition of people, and at the center of what we're doing, it really is about the people. One of the things that when you talk to people about art, they and you ask for word associations, one of the things that they talk about frequently is, well, curation. And curation is an important part of the lexicon in the art world. From a traditional sense, though, it can imply, and I think this is one of the challenges we try to overcome, it can imply that people who are trained in the art world or who have PhDs in art history and so on know more than the rest of us, that their taste in some way is better. And I don't think that that's true. And what we're trying to do long-term from a business point of view is really turn on people's own tastes and sensibilities and honor those by presenting choice to them that reflects what they like. We've seen this happen in other businesses and other industries, and I'll reference back to these things like Spotify, for example, has really done a phenomenal job in that way for music. So we're trying to do that for art. But what we do think about, in other words, we're trying to help people do a better job curating for themselves. Now, what we do curate very, very seriously is the people around what we're doing. It's values-based and really driven by a collective share of values. All right. So, in the interest of time and organization, I'll do most of the talking. However, you should feel free to ask anybody on the team a question, and I will certainly reference them at one point in time. We have a team with a very varied background. Grew up in different places, different types of education and experience, age ranges, and so on. We have deep experience in the art industry, but also experiential learning, software development, finance and investing, and so on. Even in our investor base, we have 3 founders and general partners of leading venture firms, as well as several prominent entrepreneurs and C-suite executives. So I referenced this point a moment ago, and I'll come back to it. But over the last 20 years, new technology and distribution channels have shortened the distance between creators and consumers in every creative industry except for visual art. From YouTube for video, Spotify for music, or Substack for writers, new pathways of discovery have grown markets, created value, and delighted consumers. See Me is on the path to do that for visual art and artists globally. The next version of our product, what we're calling See Me 3.0, is our platform to democratize the art world. And I'm not going to read every single slide here. I would just want to give people a quick overview as a way to, instigate questions, if you will. But an easy way to understand where we're going is to combine the best elements of LinkedIn, but for artists, combined with the superior user experience of Spotify. And so an easy way to kind of understand the value proposition is that we're building a social network that will revolutionize how artists connect with opportunities for sales, for projects, for collaborations with other people, and create tighter integration or connection with people who should discover their work intuitively, and then really foster ongoing relationships that will generate what we call flywheel value. We also deliver tools for business management and portfolio creation, and importantly, marketing distribution. From the consumer side, we're using a process that it combines behavioral incentives and competition inherently, coupled with discovery using artificial intelligence that presents to collectors work that's been vetted, and really artists that are ambitious and likely to increase in whose work is likely to increase in value over time. We've been at this for several years, and we've used the last real period of the last kind of year and a half or so to really vet where we're going next, what we call See Me 3.0. But along the way, we're generating well over 6 figures of recurring revenue, all while bootstrapping. We've got hundreds and hundreds of annual members. We've built real credible relationships with companies like Scope Art, Sotheby's Institute, and Mural. We've incurred nearly 10,000 paid artist submissions from 35 countries around the world, and we've built, frankly, a quite large social footprint with over 500,000 subscribers during that period of time. So the way the product really works is that artists come on the platform, they create a password protected profile, they upload work, digital or physical work associated with their portfolio, and we give them a wallet. And bookmark that concept for just 1 second. We then integrate outbound marketing tools. So that's why we use this term CRM platform. So the inventory coupled with the CRM platform makes it very easy for the artists to market on their own behalf to their own audience, and then incentivizes them to bring that audience online. So fundamentally, using the platform, which they can't do this today without going to 4 or 5 different places, enables them from one place to market work, encourage people to come on the platform. We help them increase engagement. And if someone that they bring on the platform buys work either from them or from a different artist, we compensate them and deposit money in that wallet that we talked about. So it's really the first opportunity ever for artists to promote themselves, to protect their audience, to get paid for their work, save time, and actually make money where they're sleeping. And conversely, from the collector perspective, we're again serving that intuitive but highly vetted choices of superior artists, and we're helping show them artists whose work is likely to increase in value and make it easy for them to like, follow, and share artists. So I'm going to skip this slide because it's quite dense, but there are 3 major trends that we're leveraging, and here's what they are. Over the next 15 years, and this is been documented in the trust, but over the next 15 years, we're going to see a massive wealth transfer from prior generations, frankly, to relatively younger consumers. And that's likely to result in approximately $15 trillion of wealth transfer between now and 2035 or a few years after that. That's very important at the same time because that generation is also becoming more affluent in organic ways. The second thing is that over the last 20 years, and this doesn't only impact younger consumers, but it does certainly impact younger consumers, is we've seen shifts in consumer behavior, where consumers today they want to curate their own lives, and they want real connections between people whose work they're attracted to, and they're accustomed to buying online. So that represents a tremendous shift compared to what we've seen in the past. And then the last thing, and this is particularly true over the last few years, is new technology has enabled really enhanced open distribution channels. And so that's why when people talk about Web 2 and Web 3, really what they're talking about is the transition. It's not really about crypto. It's about the transition from closed ecosystems, like LinkedIn, for example, is a closed ecosystem, to open ecosystems, which are really much more consumer friendly. And so people can promote themselves and transact on or outside of a pre-existing network. So we are capitalizing on those 3 trends in a very powerful way, and we're the first people to really do this in the art world. This is a quick representation of it, and I won't dwell here, but essentially we're using artificial intelligence-driven discovery. This is in this upper right-hand quadrant of this slide. What we call online art 3.0 is going to result in, probably $25 billion of incremental value in the art market over that period of time. But so it's artificial intelligence-driven discovery, integrated marketing, data analytics, and smart contracts, all facilitating this growth. So one of the questions that we get is, aren't you guys just like Artsy? And the answer is no. Artsy is, to use the language that I referenced a moment ago, really a closed ecosystem. We are not another online gallery. We're enabling art as a physical or digital investment through smart contracts with integration to broad distribution. And importantly, we've been developing a predictive algorithm so that as the artists pass through the platform in the process, we are cataloging, analyzing, and cataloging not just the work, but pricing patterns and a number of other variables so that we're able to predict which artist's work is likely to increase in value. and then we share that information with our consumer base. And we also, as we recognize those artists, we lean into promoting them, and in essence, really betting on people who we have a lot, high confidence in performance. We generate revenue as we go, as we have over the last few years. You know, our model is highly profitable. We do try to turn around and use a lot of that revenue to drive increased growth. So, you know, artists who are really promoting themselves, we give them a quick way to actually earn back the membership fee, so that they're really playing with house money and growing their business rapidly. But you can see how the business grows over time. It's very linear until we hit an inflection point, and then it starts to take off. But it grows all the way through. I mentioned the team. You can see some of their smiling faces as we go. But we've got great access to you know, technical resources combined with people who really know the art world super well. We're raising $1.5 million to you know, to build the next version of the platform. And I think with that, I will pause and take some questions. I hope I wasn't talking too fast. And Helika, if you would like to start, you could read from the doc, and if you have any.
Yes, we have a few questions in the doc. Let me read you one. Give me 1 minute. So we have one, like, what is your go-to-market strategy?
So this is a super important question that we think about a lot, because it really speaks to kind of how we're going to spend money as we raise money through our. And let me cover that for 1 second first, because it relates. About a third of the money we're raising is for the next version of the platform, CME 3.0. About a third is for go-to-market, and then the balance is to fund some new positions and for working capital. So this is inherent to our market, and I'm sorry, to our strategy, and I think a real advantage for us. I mentioned how when an artist creates a profile, we give them a wallet. That's really the first way we try to encourage behavior. So we think about what we're doing as sort of an enlightened collective, or really an ecosystem. And for ecosystems to be healthy, they have to be in balance and growing. So as we give artists tools, we encourage the artists to promote to their existing audience, and we make it easy for them to do that. And then we incentivize them to bring other people onto the platform. So from an existing audience point of view, if you can imagine, we have artists, by the way, that are in the CME community that have hundreds of thousands of followers. But let's just pretend we have an artist with 5,000 followers and maybe another 2,000 or 3,000 on email. So we make it easy for them to use tools that are integrated with the inventory system to schedule email marketing, and we give them advice on how to do that, and social media marketing right from the platform. So today they have to go to multiple places, like, you know, Facebook or Pinterest or Instagram, for example, or LinkedIn. Now they can do it from one place. And when someone who follows them comes on CME, we ask them who referred them or who their favorite artist is. And when and if they create, they purchase something, or they come to an event or whatever, or they refer someone else, we actually deposit value in the artist wallet. Think about it like a loyalty points program. And so, like, for example, if an artist refers another artist onto the platform, we immediately rebate half the membership fee. If they refer two people onto the platform, we rebate the entire membership fee, and so on and so forth. As they sell art, on their first $500 of sales, we actually rebate the membership fee, and so on and so forth. And so as they sell more, they actually have a progressive share of the sale. So that's directly related to go-to-market, because there are a bunch of different behavioral incentives that I'd like to say have been very thoughtful about, that permeate the interactions between artists and consumers on the platform to enhance behavior. So that's really the first big thing, it's a way for us to think about amplifying our overall footprint. The second part of it is we have significant business development relationships, starting with Sotheby's Institute. We have a strong relationship with them. They have 8,000 alumni around the world, and we try to reach through those relationships and then reach people in lots of different markets and various arts organizations around the world. We have created direct relationships with starting about 5 different artist universities, and those will be expanding. And then, of course, we do paid marketing, but we really are focused on leveraging business development and behavioral incentives to grow our audience first, and then supplementing that with paid. That's I think in stark contrast to what you see from other people. And the last thing I'll say is that our long-term vision here is that we really want to control is the wrong word, but we really want to cultivate an audience that's ours and not be long-term beholden to Google, for example, to do so. So what was the next question, Angelica?
I have 3 more questions. We have other questions. The next
Great.
one is, why is Artsy not a competitor?
First of all, we're on Artsy today. I expect we will continue to do so. But there are a couple different reasons why they're not a competitor to us. Number one, and most people don't know this, but I use the term closed ecosystem before. Artsy is a closed ecosystem. In fact, as an artist, you cannot just list your work on Artsy. You have to be represented by a gallery. So Artsy will not work directly with artists unless they come through a gallery. That's the first big fundamental difference. Second, if you're a gallery and a person comes on Artsy, it's very difficult for them to go back and forth between being outside of the system and then back onto Artsy. And so that's really, we think, inherently anti-competitive and an advantage for us. And so we also, I'll give you another example. If you're an artist and you appear under a gallery's banner on Artsy, you can't list your own work in a way where someone can go discover you. They can record your name and then go search for you on Instagram and so on. But what we're doing is creating a way for and incentivizing people, artists, to be on CME and have them be discoverable whether they're inside or outside of CME, and provide so much value that no matter what, they're going to want to be represented by CME, because the commission structure is such that it really benefits them, and there aren't multiple layers in between us and them.
Okay. We have another question from Daniela Ortiz. She says, I learned about CIMI when you launched the platform at the event in Colombia. Why is the Latin community a big part of your brand?
Oh, I love that question, Daniela. Thank you very much. If you asked me 4 years ago, I would not necessarily have predicted Latin America to be such a strong focus. But I used the term at the beginning, or the phrase at the beginning of our discussion tonight, that we believe, and we have believed this since the very beginning, that talent is evenly distributed around the world, but opportunity is highly concentrated. And so whether it's South America, anywhere, or, rural Texas or India or Africa or Northern Canada, for example, I'll tell you something there. We know that there are super talented people who, if they happen to be in New York and be discovered the right way, they could become, a star in the art industry if that's what their goal was, but certainly their work would be recognized and sought after. So for us, to answer your question more specifically, the connection with Latin America has really been serendipitous. We Angelica and I met through Sotheby's Institute. We now have several other people, including Maria Paula from Colombia, that work with us. We have strong connections in Mexico, and that will only strengthen. We have not announced it yet, but we're in the process of formalizing a relationship with the Inuits in Canada. And they have a major cooperative, and it's a very similar thing. Their work right now, there's a traveling exhibition in Seoul, Korea, and they need a partner who's going to help them in a way that honors what they do. And so I expect that that kind of phenomenon will become a part or more and more of CME's approach, and certainly the Latinx connection will only be strengthened.
Oh, hi. We have another question from Catherine Sierra. How are you measuring the stickiness of memberships from the collector customer side? I asked specifically about the inflection point or revenue expected in year 2. Which are the factors you believe will contribute the most to that stickiness? The question is on the chat, Brendan, if you need to read it again.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll answer it here, and then I'll turn around and articulate it and answer it hopefully more completely on Republic, because I think that there's some nuance there. But you asked a question from the consumer side, and the way the model works really does start with the artist. So I'll get to the consumer side in just a minute, but the core metric that we track is what we call the engaged artist. And the definition of an engaged artist is a person who's using the tools to promote themselves and their work, and they're realizing a certain, but frankly very modest level of success. And we know that that person is incentivized to promote themselves and bring more and more people onto the platform. For the first couple of years of the way our revenue model works, we will have, approximately 4-to-1 artists to collectors on the platform. And but it does grow over time, and the revenue model or the revenue numbers are fairly modest as they go. So we have on the platform I think less than 1,000 collectors in the second year, but we'll be up to about 4,000 active artists on the platform, and of those, 500 to 1,000 have hit that definition of engaged. And I'll come back and answer the question in more nuance on Republic in the next 24 hours.
Let me see if we have more questions. Check the document. There's another question. Can you tell us about your process, Brandon?
Do you mean the process? Do you mean the process of judging when we hold an open call, or our fundraising process, or something
I
else?
think they're asking about the fundraising process, like what are we doing right now? Like, what is the process that we're following? Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we're running a parallel process between a public raise on Republic and a direct to angel investor raise that are really primarily our own efforts. And on the direct, the public process on Republic is totally transparent. On the angel side, we're focused on what we call high net worth art interested angels, some micro funds, and pre-seed and family offices. We are really not engaging in the standard venture capital process today for a few reasons. Most venture firms follow the power law, which means that if they make 100 bets, their expectation or their hope is that 2 or 3 of those bets are 100x returns, or big enough returns to satisfy the whole fund. Inherently, that means their expectation is 50 to 70% of those bets, or 50 to 70% of those investments are going to go out of business. If you look at the mirror of that from the entrepreneur's perspective, they're betting on you only if you're always trying to hit a home run. And what we're trying to do is be much more methodical and really build a company that in a really responsible, risk-adjusted way. And we have no aversion to spending money, but we wait to do it until we're totally convinced of the next step to spend money. So we don't believe in spending money to just solve problems. We're spending money to grow money and to build value for our customers. And we know that the byproduct of doing those things with discipline over time is going to result in creating huge economic value. But we don't feel compelled to have to do that in 3-6 months because our investor has to have a markup in his portfolio, and so he can raise another fund, if that answers your question. So that's how we think about the process, and I'm happy to answer it more.
Okay, we have another question.
Yep.
I just sent you the question. So do you want me to read it?
No,
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
the question is, what's the average price point on the art sales? That's question. That's the first part. And when do we hit cash flow break even? Average price point on the art sales is about $1,000. So totally modest. In fact, Narissa can confirm this, but I think if you look at our average over the last year, and it's really growing, but it's over $1,000. And we expect to hit break even around the 24th month right now. So somewhere between the 22nd and 25th month, we expect to hit cash flow break even today. And by the way, when we hit cash flow break even in the model, we have about $400,000 in the bank on a $1.5 million raise. And the other thing I'll say about the way the financial model works is we've kept a lot of discipline around expense management, and we'll continue to do that. So we're going to use money to grow money and to grow value.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. Brendan, I don't
All
know.
right. Yeah. Well, please feel free, anybody, to hit us up directly or hit us up on Republic. Thank you all so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And have a great night.
Yeah, before you
Yeah,
end,
thank you.
before you end the call, Brandon, I will add to the chat the link for Republic. So if you haven't had the chance to visit our fundraising page, you can have a look and read a little bit more about what we're doing right now. Give me a minute, I will add it here.
Thanks, Laura.
I'm looking for it.
And I'll just add that at least one person said they'd like to discuss things more. So there's both reaching out in the chat in Republic, and you can find Brendan's email also at brendan@su.me. So I'm sure he'd be happy to go deeper through any platform.
We also expect to do this a number of additional times over the next, at least next month.
Thank you. That's it. I already added two things, Brendan's email to the chat and the Republic page for all of you to visit. Thank you very much for coming.
Yep, outstanding. Thanks, everyone. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was great to be on and listen.
Appreciate it. Bye now.
Cheerio.
Bye, thanks.